Welcome back to Champion News Talk Radio, brought to you by championnews.net, your choice for the conservative voice. This is Ann Parisi. Today, our founder, the oldest Tea Party member, Jack Roser, and myself, and Lennie Jarrett, who's our editor, chief editor of Champion News, and Michael Brown. Your Champion News team is here today, and we have 9 days away from the election, so and there is early voting going on. But during the break, we were talking about the Tea Party and watching a lot of these ads on television and the perception. And I know personally, I've been out talking to voters, and a lot of times, well, you're not part of that Tea Party thing. Well, yeah, I am, but I'm not going to tell them that because at that point, it's like, well, I ask them a question. Well, do you have a problem with limited government? Or what do you feel? How do you feel about this spending? And when you start talking issues back again, the values and issues, it brings them back to what's really happening. But during the break, we were talking about the Tea Party, and it's America. It's Americanism. And Lennie, we were talking about this Tea Party movement really was before Obama. It happened during like that September, October of 2008. Was it 08?
Well, it was Rick Santelli's.
Rick Santelli's rant coalesced everything.
Really coalesced
because
everything.
That was TALF. Now, I don't know what happened first, TARP or TALF, but...
Yeah, there were groups all the way back under, with the Dubai Ports deal back in the mid-2000s under Bush. There were the Supreme Court nominee that he tried to put his personal friend in on the Supreme Court, that people were up in arms with. The same people that are now in the Tea Party were talking about the spending when they were doing the new entitlement with Medicare Part D.
Right.
They were all there. Santelli's rant just kind of coalesced everybody under the name Tea Party but we were all there under Bush. Now, people talk about that. We were there.
They're protesting about values, weren't they?
Exactly.
That's why the Tea Party, it's amazing the way the tea idea of throwing the tea in the harbor.
Enough already.
Yeah.
Is what, it was really more of a financial, monetary value for America.
It was.
Because
the spending was out of control then, and we saw it and started speaking up then.
It's immoral to leave generational debt.
And this is the thing that the crazy press is trying to denigrate.
Right.
They're trying to blame local Republican candidates because the Tea Party supports them.
Right.
They're showing that as if it was a bad thing.
Right, They believe, the way the media talks, fiscal responsibility is bad.
When I see ads like that, I wonder, are they for or are they against? I don't get it.
Well, you know what? Fiscal responsibility, for government, I mean, it's kind of an oxymoron, if you'll excuse me, because no one knows waste and more than government does. But let's get back, because I remember back in December of 2008, and there were emails going around sending tea bags to Washington. And that was President Bush, who was still in office at that time. And I remember sending tea bags to 1700 Pennsylvania Avenue, just little tea bags. So you're right.
Boy, that got a medical examination.
Well, you know, it was an email that went out, and all of us were starting to talk about this stuff. And I know, like you were saying, back in the mid-2000s, there were a lot of things that started going on. But I think Santelli, by him articulating that, everybody was just like, yes, you're saying.
He expressed the frustration we were all feeling. Exactly.
Yes. And but how do you think the perception of them could be changed for the average voter? Because the average voter still doesn't get it. They see these ads pinning these good, fiscally conservative
It's entirely a misrepresentation.
It is.
By the crazy press.
It is.
They want to denigrate them because why? Because the Tea Party people are for values that are entirely opposite to what Obama is representing. Obama, leave out the fact that he's running around, like he's some kind of a con man, always confident that he's doing right, even when he's in it up to here. But the Tea Party people have exactly opposite values to what we've got in the coterie of people, the czars that are around him, a bunch of college professors. They think they're thinking, but they're only fooling around with crazy ideas.
Yeah, because most of them have never had real private sector experience,
jobs.
so they don't understand what they're doing.
You got this bunch of goofballs that are trying to imagine a better world where the Tea Party people are coming back to the solid things about morals and values that the Tea Party and the colonists of the day. So it's really turned into an exponent of broad values, American values, the Constitution, all of that stuff. It's no longer throw it in the harbor. It's, hey, we got values here.
But now, Michael, I know you want to say something, but still, the broadband public perception is that, oh, you know, crazy Tea Party. Those people are crazy.
It's totally that.
We know it's totally wrong.
You know,
I know that.
Early on, I went to a Tea Party thing down in Joliet, and there were about 1,000 people in a place where we normally use for weddings, you know. And I deliberately sat on the steps to look down on 1,000 people in card table chairs that listened to people who wanted to run for governor and this and that. And they listened to all of this gibberish going back and forth from people that did get the idea and those that didn't. But it is evident that those people, Tea Party people sitting in those chairs, calmly were there. They nodded their heads. They occasionally said great. They didn't do much booing. They were really smart people, under control in every way, upset with the way things are.
Absolutely. Michael, I know you're chomping at the bit again to say something, but I want to talk about public perception and how we change that dialogue.
Sure. Well, you know, they tried to tarnish the Tea Party for a long time, and what actually finally stuck was the gridlock in Congress over the debt ceiling. That they were able to throw on the Tea Parties as being obstructionists. But here's the thing, and this is the point I was wanting to make. Highlighting when the Tea Party actually started is very important, because if the media will try to tell you it happened under Obama and they're all racist.
Racist movement.
Right. But the fact of the matter is, for the government to spend $700 billion of our tax dollars for businesses that they deemed too big to fail in a free enterprise market, I mean, it shocked all of us.
Right, and that's the one thing with the Tea Party. We woke up. We are starting to hold our elected officials accountable, and that's what they don't like.
There's a phrase that I ran into in Wall Street Journal that does write some bright stuff, and the phrase is moral hazard. Well, what in the hell is that? And let's go back to the turn of the century, around 1900, where we had one of these big financial panics come along, and the currency and everything went to hell, and we had a big nationwide depression. And who rescued it? J.P. Morgan. Why did he rescue it? Because he'd helped to cause the crisis. They took some long shot chances in the stock market that went flat on them, and it derailed the currency and everything else. But the guys that caused it came up with that Trump, the money. They came up with that, and J.P. Morgan put his money in to do it. That's moral hazard. If you're going to take big chances, you want to go down the tube when it fails. You shouldn't be rescued by Mr. Obama and his socialist crap.
You're not being rescued by Mr. Obama, Jack. You're being rescued on the hard-working, middle-class taxpayers.
Oh, he grabs the money and he gives it away in the trillions.
Obama money. Anybody see that Obama phone video?
Those oligarchs on top never should have been bailed out.
Yeah, well, one of the things when I was actually running for office last year, one of the things I found out when I'm walking around talking to people is that you start talking, you have to have a dialogue with people. Once you sit down and start talking to people and you start talking about the issues they care about, they find out that what the perception is, what their perception is from the media isn't accurate anymore. Well, because the Tea Party is willing to sit down and talk to people, actually more so than the progressives are. They don't actually want other ideas. We're willing to sit down and discuss ideas and have our conversation.
But see, that's exactly the point, is that door-to-door, fuller brush, face-to-face, looking at somebody's eyeballs and saying, you know what, there is something wrong. What do you think is wrong? I agree with you. You start building that type of rapport with them. And that is when people start understanding that, you know what, maybe what this person is saying is right, and let me take a look and see more of what they say.
One example.
You see the polar opposites we've got going here. We've got these Tea Party people that are really solid and on the ground, and we're also going very viral with reaching out to broad masses with an inexpensive means of communication. I'm not going to go buy stock in the Tribune. They went bankrupt.
Well, now that's...
Champion News has got a better way to go to reach out to larger masses with these ideas.
And you know what? We learned this time. Last election cycle, John McCain wanted nothing to do with the social media, social networking. And you know what? We're learning. We're taking over. Stay with us. You're going to hear more.